In this episode, we're going to change the sump on a 1UZ FE engine. If you've got a 1UZ FE, the Toyota V8, the 4-litre engine, it's a really awesome engine, especially if you got one from the early 90s, because they've got the forged rods, the really strong rods from factory, so they can actually handle a certain amount of boost off the shelf, which is really good. I needed a front mount sump, so you can see this sump has the pickup from the front. They also made one, which is the one that's on it, from the Sora, had a pickup from the middle, and they also had a rear mount sump as well. And so we want the front pickup, and so we're going to change this one out for that. We're just going to mock it up today and see how that looks, but this is how you do it. To get to some of these bolts around there, make sure I can get the jack out, I'm going to remove the engine mount. To remove that engine mount, I may also need to remove the exhaust, which isn't a hard thing. They use 14mm heads, 14mm for the top of those, and I believe they're the same 14mm. These look like they could be a 10 or a 12. I'll confirm that in a minute. And as you can see, this is the mid-mount sump, where we're going to go to a front mount sump, and the Sora has a cross member that runs through there and one that runs through here. So where the car that we're putting this on has a cross member that sits right about, you can see where it's scratched every time I put it down on it. So we're going to alleviate that, which will be really nice. Got a few sensors that we'll have to relocate as well, but that's all part of it. But mostly I'm just going to be looking at these bolts. They look like that's a bigger one again. That could be a 12, and these could be a 10. Have to do a bunch of bolts that will run all the way around. The easiest way to look at that is to look at the new sump, and we can see where the holes actually end up. So we can see that they run all the way around the front. These major ones here, 1, 2, 3, these are the ones that hold it on. A couple at the back, and then there's some bigger ones in here as well. So if we look at them on this side, here we use 10mm for the majority of the small ones. We go up to a 12mm head here, and the large one on the back is a 14mm. And then you can see there's another 12, and then we'll have some smaller ones possibly up the top if the patterns line up. The interesting thing about this sump is it actually comes in sections. Generally a sump would be a one-piece makeup. These ones actually come in parts. And so you can see here we've got the lower pan, which bolts on. So the bolts are in there. Then you've got your main base plate, which bolts on, and then everything else sort of goes on from there. So to actually put this on, the first thing we need to do when we're taking off the old one is actually remove the pan for a start. Once we've done that, we can access the other bolts needed to take off this base unit part. So now we can actually get to all the other bolts that I was talking about that are up under there. So you can see up here there's the 10mm. There's also a 12mm under there as well that I wasn't expecting, so that's alright. Obviously the bottom of the engine. all nice and shiny and forged and awesome. But yeah, we're going to do some of those bolts around there now. Should be great. So there she is, that's the old Sump, the mid-mount Sump. The bolts that held me up were these two ones at the back, which I should have seen off the new one, but they were actually hidden by this plate. Until that plate dropped down, I wasn't able to see them, and they fit up there. They were what was holding the back. The rest of it came out quite easily. I did have to take off some of the transmission lines, the cool lines off there, but that was about it. They're the only thing I had to really move to make all that fit and work. But there's the old one. We're just going to mock up the new one. Now, to put on the new Sump, the process is the reverse. You start with the oil pickup here and place that on, do up the bolts. It's got another mounting bolt there which fits at the front of the engine. Then you use, good quality gasket going all the way around, and you do up the bolts. Very much just the reverse of what we just did. If you are looking at how to do that and torque specs, that will be coming out in a later video on Tim's Garage to do with the Lord Fexus build. But for now, we've got the old one off. We're going to mock this up, which we can show. And this is the finished product for the mock-up. It fits perfectly where I want it to in the engine bay of this car. It's obviously not bolted in or anything, it's just mocked up, that's why it's not quite sitting straight. But you can see why I needed to swap the Sump over on this application. So if you are looking to swap the Sump on a 1UZ, that's a pretty basic overview of how you do that, just taking out the bolts and dropping it down. Then of course I'd have to clean up all the gaskets and re-gasket that and put it back on, which I'll do in a later video. But you can see there's plenty of space on this job to fit a couple of turbos and all the rest of it, and we're very happy with it. So thanks for watching Tim's Garage, thanks for subscribing, thanks for hitting the like button, and we'll see you on the next episode when we are going to be playing with more cars and doing some more fun stuff in the shed. Thanks for watching. Cheers.